Aparajith. I'm here with Mr. Dushyanth Gunashekar. He's the CEO of CreaPlay. So I'm going to be asking him a few questions. So can you please tell me what it means to be a CEO of a company?
I think firstly it's a lot of responsibility, and it's a great privilege to be a CEO. That's what it feels like, because it's highly romanticized sometimes in terms of it being the position of the big boss, the person who gets to take all the calls, make sure that everybody is in order and does their job. But actually that's a very romanticized idea of what a CEO actually is. Truth be told, the CEO has to be a very selfless, extremely empathetic person who understands and appreciates what every single person who interacts with the business needs and requires from it. So they have to be very understanding of what the employees' needs are for them to work at the optimum, what the customers are really wanting from the product or service so that they can add more value. So their job is to find out, the CEO's job is to find out what makes every single person, the stakeholder that interacts with the business, what makes them tick vis-a-vis the business's product or service. So it's a very selfless job that teaches you a lot of humility and responsibility, and therefore it's a very big privilege.
So now, why did you start this business, and were there any difficulties which you faced when you started the business?
I started the business because I was passionate about theatre and education. I had the privilege of doing theatre when I was in school, so I really wanted that for as many children as possible in India. And after my education, I decided that this was something that I wanted to pursue, and I also had entrepreneurship in my family, with my dad and mom both being entrepreneurs. I really wished to have something that I would call my own, in my own legacy. So that's why I started CreaPlay as a business that allows children to interact with theatre, through theatre and storytelling in the curriculum of schools and after school programs. That's what we do in CreaPlay. But there were many problems, first and foremost in terms of selling the why, which is basically theatre is not really looked at as a very viable profession, and this also created issues in terms of questioning whether the business itself will be sustainable, and second, the issue in terms of whether theatre would add the kind of value that it claims to add to children. So to sell that to parents, to sell that to students, to sell that to schools was a stumbling block at that point in time. But when you have conviction in terms of what you're selling and what you have, and you keep trying bit by bit, in time the right people will hear you and get convinced about it. I think that's important, and we are always on the road of convincing people that theatre is sustainable both as a profession and as a tool to empower your child. And I think we are on the right track of solving those issues. It will never get fully solved, but it will get solved. It is on the road to getting solved.
So now, do you have any advice for the future entrepreneurs?
Yeah, sure. I think the first one, as I said, is don't romanticize the idea of being in business. I think it's first and foremost a privilege. Don't try and become an entrepreneur or CEO just because you want to be the big boss. You have a responsibility and empathy to require empathy towards every stakeholder in the organization. The second is you need to make sure that you simplify. The world is a very complex place, and you ought to make it as simple as possible in terms of messaging as to what you do, who you are, what you stand for, what your principles are, very clearly to whoever you're talking with, so that they understand and appreciate where you're coming from. And third is find your niche, because whatever you choose to do, there's nothing that is new or completely different within the schematic of an industry that you choose to be part of. You need to find what sets you apart and really double down on making sure that your efforts in strengthening your strengths, so to speak, sets you apart in the world, because there will be a lot of crowd in whatever you take take up and do. How you set yourself aside from the crowd is to find your own niche. So these are the three advices that I give young entrepreneurs.
So thank you so much, Mr. Dushyanth, for your time and input. I'm sure this information is useful.